Hello, in today's video we'll be discussing vertical motion. The formulas are quite similar to those used in horizontal motion with a few key substitutions. Y for x, g for acceleration. So our main formula becomes y equals the initial velocity times time plus 1/2 gravity times time squared. If we're starting from rest, such as a free fall type problem, this will simplify into y equals 1/2 gt squared. For calculations, we'll be using 9.8 meters per second squared for g. Some professors will also allow you to use 10 meters per second squared, so the calculations will be much easier. The final velocity is equal to the initial velocity plus gravity times time final velocity squared is equal to the initial velocity squared plus 2gy. If we're moving upward, then I know that y will be positive. I know that my velocity will be positive, and my gravity will be negative. Our first problem involves a stone dropped from a building, striking the ground in 4.2 seconds. To find the building's height, we're going to use y equals 1/2 gt squared. This will be 1/2 times 9.8 times 4.2 squared. Inputting these values will give me y equals 86.4 meters. Next, a bullet is fired directly upward at 300 meters per second. We want to find its elevation after 40 seconds. So, using y equals the initial velocity times time plus 1/2 gt squared, we're going to plug in the values. 300 times 40 plus 1/2. Since we're going upward, that's going to be negative 9.8 and 40 squared. Calculating this, y is going to equal 4160 meters. Alternatively, we could calculate the time to reach the apex where the velocity is 0. So, if I'm going upward and back down, at the apex here, the final velocity is going to equal 0. So we could use the formula. Velocity is equal to the initial velocity plus gt. So I know that this is 0, this is 300. So this would give me a time of 30.612 seconds. Okay, let's subtract. My total trip is 40 seconds. So if I subtract from that 30.612 seconds, That means it's going to be falling 9.39 seconds. That's how long it's going to be going downward. So I could say y equals 1/2 9.8 times the total time in the air. The total time in the air going upward was 30.612. So that means at the apex, it will have gone 4591 meters. This is at the apex, or at the top. Now it's going to free fall for 9.39 seconds. So again, we'll say y equals 1/2 gt squared. This time it's going to be 1/2 9.8 times 9.39 seconds squared. So it's going to fall 432 meters. If I subtract this distance from the very top, 4591 minus 432, okay, this would give me 4160 meters again. So it checks out. So it confirms the previous results. In this problem, a girl throws a book downward from a classroom window at 3 meters per second and it hits the ground in 2.5 seconds. Using the formula for final velocity, we can calculate the velocity. It's going to be 3 meters per second plus 9.8 times 2.5. Okay, this would give us 27.5 meters per second. To find the initial height, we will use y equals the initial velocity times time plus 1/2 gt squared. So it's going to be 3 times 2.5 plus 1/2 times 9.8 times 2.5 squared. So we calculate this to be 38.1 meters high. Here, we drop a rock from a balloon that's ascending at 8 meters per second from a height of 300 meters. To find the time in the air, we're going to say y equals the initial velocity times time plus 1/2 gt squared. Okay, I know that y is going to be negative 300 because it started off 300 above the ground. The initial velocity is 8 times t plus 1/2 of a negative 9.8 t squared. So negative 300 equals 8t minus 4.9 t squared, and put this into the quadratic format. 4.9 t squared minus 8t minus 300 is going to equal 0. All right, we know that A is going to be 4.9, B is going to be negative 8, C is going to equal negative 300. So by substituting this into the quadratic equation, which is minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. When calculating both the positive and the negative, for the positive value, you'll get 8.68 seconds. And if I use the negative value, I get negative 7.05 seconds. So clearly, it's going to take 8.68 seconds for the rock to remain in the air. The final velocity upon impact is calculated using the final velocity is equal to the initial velocity plus gravity times time. So the final velocity is equal to 8 plus, I have to have a negative 9.8, and this will be 8.68. That's the time in the air. So the final velocity will compute to be negative 77 meters per second, or I could say 77 meters per second downward. Okay, to find the height, so we're starting off at 300. We need to compute the distance from where it was released to the apex. So we're going to say that the velocity is equal to the initial velocity plus gravity times time. So 0 is going to equal the initial velocity of 8 minus 9.8 t's. So taking the 8 to the other side, I have negative 8 equals negative 9.8 t's. So the time it takes to reach the apex will be 0.816, say 2 seconds. Okay, so let's find out how far it travels in this amount of time. So y is equal to 1/2 gt squared. So it's going to be 1/2 9.8 times 0.8162 squared. Okay, so this is going to equal 3.265 meters. So that's how far it traveled going upward. Let's add that to the initial 300 meters. That'll give us 303.26 or 27 meters. So those are our answers for this question. Finally, we explored the vertical velocity of an object thrown upward from a 60-meter cliff at 2 meters per second after 5 seconds. We'll use the formula velocity equals the initial velocity plus gt. So that's going to be 20 plus negative 9.8 times 5. This will give me negative 29 meters per second. Alternatively, we could use y equals the initial velocity times time plus 1/2 gt squared. So y is going to equal 20 times 5 plus 1/2 negative 9.8 times 5 squared. So this will give me negative 22.5 meters. This is from the starting point. So to calculate the velocity, we could say the final velocity squared is equal to the initial velocity squared plus 2gy. So 20 squared plus 2 times negative 9.8 times negative 22.5. So the final velocity, again, is equal to 29 meters per second. So now taking the square root, it could be plus or minus. The answers compared to each other. I hope you picked up something valuable from watching this video. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. I will see you soon with another video. Thank you and goodbye.